We are live. All right, Dom. Let's get now. I'm sort of warmed up. Let's get cracking.
Hasbullah from TikTok. Fighting a client over variations for months. When is the time to walk away?
Yeah, good question. It's interesting. He finished off with when's the right time to walk away, because there is definitely a time to fight, and there is definitely a time to walk away. What I would want to understand, Hasbullah, is how much money are we talking? If it's $8,000, you go, mate, if you could get 4 out of that, I would kiss that thing goodbye, take the $4,000 and just go to the next, because there's so much energy wasted. So just if he can get back to us, or if you can just clarify what sort of money we're talking. I know that when I built over $1 million worth of townhouses, the final payment was $100,000. So now if you're talking about variations, let's say you're hijacking $100,000 final payment and you've got a $15,000, variation of which the client's only going to pay 50%. Take your $7,500 and your $100,000, get out of there. But it really will depend on what the final payment is amount. Here we go. Some variations. Holy shit. $150K plus QS is assessed. So I'm going to assume QS's quantity surveyor has assessed at $85,000. So yeah, dude. Oh, okay. And they are arguing the point over the 150. That's going to right. Project value 52 mil, $32 million contract, 20 million in variations. All right. So what we've got as a percentage wise, 150K is not massive, but at 52 million with a what are we talking, sort of, a GP of say maybe 20%. It's a pretty, I don't want to downplay this, and I got no context, right? So I'm literally shooting from the hip here. That's some massive numbers, dude. Is that what is that? Is that a multi-story? Like, is that a 10-story building you're working on there, or what? See how quickly you can get back to us. 52 million val, 32 million original contract, 20 million in variations, and then they decided to not pay 150. I would love to know the reason behind heritage refurbishment. Okay, so does that mean you're working directly for the government? Is that a government, like a state government project there in Melbourne? Is that the Vicky government you're working for? Percentage-wise, $150,000. I would almost, my initial thing, government, they have got all the time and all the people and all the money in the world to argue shit black and blue. Meanwhile, you and I are hemorrhaging frigging cash. What I would say is you need to round this up quick. You need to figure out why they're hesitating and why they're arguing on the final phase of play. And I would be looking for a settlement. I'd be going, I'll take 50 cents in the dollar. I don't know. You'd need to be super creative. You've been in and around that project for the longest time, because that to me is a 2-year project at least. So you've been dealing with a certain amount of people in there. I think you need to probably start thinking about what can I do to get a settlement. And have they given you a proposal there? Can you tell me that? Have they presented to you something along the lines? Are they saying that we're going to pay you 85, but it was 150? Can you clarify? How quick is he on the text? How quick is he on the response while I crack a beer? Come on, give it to me. I need some info. I just need to know if that 85 assessment by the quantity surveyor, if that's what they're going to settle, 85 out of 150, by the time you get legals and shit involved, like, it's going to cost you 30 to 50 grand in lawyers. It's crazy. Hasbullah, give me the heads up. Submission was 150, assessed at 85. Issue is time is not complicated. Yeah, I know. Okay, fine. So they've assessed it at 85 grand. The submission was 150. Dude, I would love to jam with you a little bit more off screen, just to make it a little bit more fluid. And I'm certainly not your legal counsel, and I'm not they'll only pay 85 in line with the QS. Yeah, right. So best case for you right now, or worst case for you right now, is the 85, and you're going to be out of pocket. What is that? 65 grand. Is that going to, Hasbullah, is that going to sink you, man? Let's jam. Let's say you take the 85, and that means you maybe make no money, there's no profit that you can make, or you're underwater on that deal. What's the upside with you taking? I mean, is there an upside and a downside? That's what I would want to talk to you about, because that's a massive question that you're asking me. True loss, yep, righto, around 20 grand. Dude, to get that money out of the government is going to cost you 20 grand in lawyers, dude. So you take your loss at 20, you take the 85, you learn from that shit, and you just put it down to experience. Because I'm telling you, I can blow 20 grand with lawyers real quick. And I'm telling you, that will not be a 5-minute thing. So if you're going to lose 20 on that deal, so instead of getting 85, you could have got 105. That would mean you break even on that deal. If you want to go and try and get anything more than 105, you're going to spend 10 to 15, probably 20 grand on lawyers to get that back. It's almost a slam dunk for me, man. So if you want to, tell you what, folks, if you want to talk to me on email, you can. max@businessforbuilders.ca, or you can go to the businessforbuilders.ca website and hit me up on a contact form there and just shoot me through. That'll come straight to my inbox as well. Okay, Hasbulla. Okay, other considerations: the time a resource needs to spend to fight. Yeah, mate, the time is really gonna bring you to your knees if you're not careful. You might want to get out of that web. So feel free to email me. So feel free to send me an email, give me an update, rather than just jamming it around here. I've got a pretty good understanding of what you hit me with so far, but certainly, if there's other minor details that I haven't got round to, then feel free to let me know. That's a massive, I've never seen like that kind of deal. Just for all of our viewers, this guy's got a $52 million contract, and he's now right at the back end of the project, and the government, which is a government project, it's a historical refurb job, and he's issued $150,000 worth of either change orders or variations, depending on which country you're in. And the government the government representative has said, no, we don't agree that it's $150,000 worth of change orders or variations. It's $85,000, and this gentleman's going to take a loss of 20, but to even start to fight it, he's going to blow 20 grand's worth of legal fees just to even break even, and then he's behind anyway. So, this is why I say construction is an absolute freaking dog-eat-dog game. And I'm telling you, you need to treat this business with absolute military precision, because I'm telling you, if you don't cover your ass and you're doing stuff on the assumption that someone's going to believe what you say or give you what you want, you're going to seriously end up in a world of hurt. And if it's a massive financial world of hurt, then it's going to take you down. I don't believe that Hasbulla is going to go underwater and out of business on those numbers, but I don't know his situation. But I wish him all the best, and feel free, max@businessforbuilders.ca, hit me up on email, and maybe we can jam around a little bit more. An update from Mozzie 888. He was trying to send me some beer, and customs took the beer. It's not allowed to ship to Canada. That friggin' sucks. Mozzie, just to let you know, mate, I'm working hard to see if I can't get down under for our franchise annual general meeting or our annual team conference in late February, early March. So, mate, I think you said you're near the Goldie. We're having our function on the Sunshine Coast. So, highly likely, if I can get my poop in a group and everything sort of going along strong, then we can maybe hook up and have a beer together anyway. So anyone that's here too as well, just to let you know, Monday, so today's Friday here in Canada, British Columbia. On Monday, we're taking the team down to Vancouver Island. So we're going to do a bit of a run through Nanaimo. So we're going on tour, folks. We're going to do a run through Nanaimo and spend Tuesday, Wednesday there. Wednesday night, we're going to be in Victoria, and I will be taking my guitar. I've got one of our franchised operators. I've jammed with him a fair bit, and we're going to go to a bit of an open jam there in Victoria, BC. So if you're in Victoria on Wednesday night, I haven't got the pub, which pub we're at, but maybe someone could text Jace and go, hey, Jace, what pub are we going to for the open jam? And then we can give it to our folks. Anyone that's in or around Victoria, BC, there on the island, we can maybe catch up and knock the froth off a couple, we would say in Australia. So, look, Mozzie, we appreciate you having a crack at it, mate. Look, it'll be good to catch up. So we'll keep you in the loop anyway as we get closer to that. I've just got to get my Aussie passport renewed because it runs out in April, and I'm not sure that I can fly with that Aussie passport. So, okay, let's get back onto the questions. Because you guys got to keep me in order because I'm all over the place. Okay.
User.
Okay, user. Hey, guys with usernames, you got to give me real names.
The reason they have user, either they didn't make a username or they got like reported or like banned.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
all right. User and abuser. Let's go. What's his question? His or her question?
Would studying construction at University of Melbourne be worth it? ?
And that was on TikTok?
Yeah.
Righto. Look, it just depends on how old. That's obviously, your age is super important. Look, I think in this day and age, it can cut both ways. What you're going to do is you're going to go and get book knowledge from a very, organised institution. And righto, so he's 19, so we've got time. So what are we doing?
The Loft, Wednesday night.
Okay, can you put that on TikTok? Is that some way you can put a note? So
He's
is it called? The Loft. Let's come back to user. So the Loft on Wednesday night, apparently let's put that link out there or something. I don't know how we find that shit. Look, I think user,
19.
if you're 19, then what you're going to find is that you're probably in a good position to burn some daylight on getting some education. Because honestly, if you want to become the general contractor, can he tell me, did he give us a time how long he's going to spend at uni to do that?
Nope.
Mate, I would assume you're going to spend somewhere between 2 and 4 years. Can you give us a head nod, user? If you're going to go and do construction, what was the course he was talking about doing?
Just hold up one sec.
Like project management or something, or
studying construction.
Yeah. Okay. 3-year degree. Yep. Okay. So now what is good about that is because I'm telling you at 21, 22, 23 years of age to go out and start a construction business. What I'm seeing more of, as a matter of fact, I talked to a guy in Red Deer today. That's out of Alberta.
You said 3-year degree.
Yeah, 3-year degree. Got it. Is that, he was a guy that didn't grow up, knocking nails into wood, but he does about, between $2 and $3 million a year as a general contractor or a builder. So I'm kind of liking the idea, and I'm not against education. I think if you can go and get some technical insight, I just don't know what you're going to learn in there to be able to critique the actual 3-year degree. Is it worth it? If it's, I guess it could be. I think with the rise of technology, righto. So his dad's in the trade industry, so I have a few. Right, okay. So you got some insight, so that's good. That gives you a little bit of grounding, right? So what you want to do is look at the old school blue collar that your dad's in amongst, and that means your old man would be about my age. Because I've got a 19, I've got a 20-year-old, so. Yeah, that means your old man's got to be about my age. So I think if you can mix some of that old school street smarts with some of that 3-year technology, then in the way of a degree, that might put you in a good position. So g'day, Forrest and I. Good to have you on the show again, champ. But I think that might be a good thing, champ. That'll help you. Now, Mozzie 888, I did a uni degree in construction. It's only useful if you want to work for a big builder. Okay, so I don't know, can users see that? Like the user that asked that question, can he see Mozzie's comments? Yeah. User, Mr. 19-year-old going to go and do a 3-year degree. I want you to maybe pay attention to Mozzie 888. Mozzie, you're on the Goldie, mate. You're in Queensland or you're in Sydney? Just hit me up because I think user, Mr. 19-year-old, he might be worth chatting to Mozzie about what you found, Mozzie, as far as doing the degree in construction. My end goal is property development, but I want to do that after becoming a builder. Right. Okay.
Yeah, Mozzie's on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, Mozzie's on the Goldie. Yeah, righto. User, I would say try and DM Mozzie 888. He's on the show here. He's a regular. Maybe you guys can just put your heads together. How old are you, Mozzie? Give me a rundown again, champ. Where you at? What age are you? How old are you, champion? We'll get back to... Bless you. Righto. Give us 34. Righto. Yeah, and he's a builder. Look, user, definitely have a chat to Mozzie. That's what it's all about. Well, this is a great networking program because there's guys like Mozzie's up the hill. He's probably, 15-hour drive from Melbourne up to the Goldie. Oh, shit, maybe more than that. Maybe more like 18. But user, get a hold of Mozzie, chew his ear off, ask him all about, the process. Because I'm telling you, see, what you've got here is you've got user, because I don't have a proper name for you, champion, is asking questions as a 19-year-old about going to university to do a building degree. And then I've got another, audience member here, Mozzie 888, who's 34 years of age and is a builder, who can really shed some light onto, the situation for the young fella coming through. Danielle is back in the house. The Australian Gov, what's that? Is about to sink billions into social housing. Okay, your degree would be useful. There we go. Okay, so we've got two polar opposite opinions. So, Mozzie's saying that it's only useful if you want to be working for a big builder, but then Danielle's saying that, hey, it might be useful because, obviously the Aussie government's going to have some stipulations. Right. User got my degree at Cal, I don't know what Cal Poly Pomona, worked for big commercial GCs and then applied to get my license. Okay. So that must be a different user.
Yeah. It's got a profile picture.
Oh, gotcha. Right. He's been in the biz for 3 years now. All right. And he's 27. Look, guys, I would follow the comments. Every time someone bombs me a question, I can't guarantee I'm going to answer everything. But I'm telling you, if someone else is dropping comments, you definitely want to, take note of who's asking those questions and then hit them up for a DM and try and really zero in on asking some questions of those. I'm sure everybody on this show is going to be happy to share. So get in touch with both user 44119 and 19-year-old user. Make sure you get in contact with Mozzie and see if he can't help you as well. So. Let's go. What's another question, Dom? Let's go.
This is another user. This is
okay. User number 3.
Yeah.
That only drug pushers and software companies call their clients users. Interesting note. Just thought I'd throw that shit out there.
I'm doing my apprenticeship right now, but I do plan on going to school for construction management. Do you think this is a good route? This kind of just got answered.
Did it really?
Well, usually.
Yeah, you can go to school. Look, I would say, this is where it comes back to. I can't say what I did is what everyone should do because I was just a useless student. That was it. So what it forced me to do is now go and do my degree through the School of Hard Knocks, which is out there on the street, and really figuring out your own way forward, making probably more errors than someone who's had a little bit more of an educational background that's come through a little bit more of a controlled environment. But I couldn't exist in that. I was not happy in that environment. I was never going to learn anything because I was potentially a little bit arrogant, and ignorant and naive and all that sort of stuff. But, I pushed my way through and sort of, made it happen, for myself, with the help of, half a dozen other people who definitely played major roles, in my development. So if you are an academic, if you have the ability to, your learning style is very much, I can sit in a classroom, I can listen to a lecture, I can do my homework, then it would possibly work for you. But if I walked away from school at grade 11, folks. So it's ironic that people are sort of asking me about should I go into education, because I really can't comment with any clarity or with any conviction, because I decided I was happy to walk away. And no sooner had I got into technical college, 3 months later, I just happened to come across, I had a friend whose brother-in-law was looking for an apprentice carpenter. I put my hand up, rang him Sunday night. He said, when can you start? I said, tomorrow. And basically I walked away from tech college 3 months into a 12-month course. So yeah, I'm not really your best guy, but I do have respect for people that do, because I look at those and they're very polished individuals. So I think each to his own. You've got to I think success requires a lot of self-awareness. You've got to know who you are. Please don't do shit to impress anybody else or your folks or your peers or whatever. You've got to focus on what is it that I can do indefinitely, or what can I do for a long period of time? What can you sustain? Because if you're doing it just for somebody else's reasons, you're not going to be able to sustain it. You're not going to survive the drive. So we got another comment there, I think, from user 4119. My degree helped me apply for my license as it served as experience. My but I gained all of the experience in the field, not the classroom. See there, that's a really good balance, right? So, you know, for me, I ended up getting my builder's license through correspondence through the master builders, because going to night classes, I was just working my ass off, you know. Like by the time I decided to do it seriously, I think we easily had 4 or 5 kids by then. So yeah, I had obligations coming at my yin yang, so I did not have time, or I knew that I wasn't an academic, but yeah, it was still pretty tough for me to do that after hours, even at home. So interesting that experience in the field, get the classroom for the credential, helps you with your builder's license. I think it's a mixture of both. I think if you can go do it, go do it. Yeah, there you go. Danielle says, I think you need a mix, education, hands-on. Booyah! That's what I'm talking about. Let's all agree on that. If you can stomach it. And Mozzie's up there too, 100% agree with you. So got the degree, got the job with the big builder, and learnt how they build. My brother was he's got his builder's license as well, and he was a superintendent or a supervisor for Simmons Homes. So all the Melbourne guys would know Simmons Homes. They're pretty big. They sponsor a bit of AFL footy. But yeah, my brother, he was working on he was working on the Sunshine Coast, supervising jobs in Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast for Simmons Homes. And, you know, that was the best thing he ever did because it gave him insight into how the big corporates roll. And he's only right now, he was in working as a maintenance supervisor for the university on the Sunshine Coast. And he's about to go out on his own because he's had a gutful of the politics inside those 4 walls. And he's like, I want to go back. And, of course, he's leaning on me for all the inside good oil. So, yeah, no, it's good to see. Yes, but what really helps with education is you learn how to use Bluebeam, right, which is an estimating and many useful software. 100%. 100%. You know, there's a part of what we do as Smith & Sons where we bring in general contractors and they're still using spreadsheets and bloody Microsoft Word to do estimating and you know, quote proposals. It's just like, you know, spare me, please. Like there's technology out there. Yeah, you got to pay some money for it. But it's all about, you know, understanding technology, using it as a leverage, you know, as leverage and, you know, kicking on that way. So, yep, Bluebeam, I've never used Bluebeam. Apparently it's not a bad software. Oh, Douglas made a comment there, never stop learning. It's absolutely the key. Touche, my friend, touche. Absolutely. Love your work. You are kicking ass taking names too, just by the way. Another question. What do we got?
What would be the best way to start a building company?
Okay, is that from anybody specifically? Okay. So what would be the best way for... I would say this. I think it's... When I go back, I use this theory all the time. What's the best way to start a building company? I would say the best way to start is to always work on technique first, and then the speed will come. Your muscle memory will develop. So if I was you, I would go looking for... I would even go back as far as... I don't care if you're a licensed builder. If you're uncertain about certain projects, I think what you want to do, especially if you just started using a piece of software, you really want to do something that's simplistic. Decks, pergolas or pergolas, depending on which hemisphere you're in, fences, like those kinds of, you know, things are easy to quantify because there's not a lot of materials. And odds on is, if you're on the tools like I was, you can actually go out there and you can be the cost of goods sold. So you both pocket the actual principal amount plus the little bit of markup that you've added to the project. And so that's what I'm saying. You start developing your people management skills, your people communication, your communication processes, your quoting and estimating, you know, all those things. You start dealing with suppliers. Perhaps you start dealing with subs. You might even have someone who comes in and helps you out with those projects. As a worker, you want to familiarize yourself with your workforce, your payroll commitments and obligations, all those sorts of things. So that's how I would start a building company. I don't know that I think I can be accused of taking some of my guys ahead too fast. You really can grow too fast. There's no question about that. You know, we have a fairly good lead generation marketing prowess because I've got a great team. And so what we can do is we can like one of my guys in the month of October, it's the 21st of October today, and I have presented that individual contractor $945,000 worth of inquiry. Now, like, that's some serious shit to quote on, you know? And so if I was to continue lumping that on him or her, what's going to happen is that I'm going to have a bunch of clients that said, I rang last week for a quote on my bathroom or my kitchen or my addition or my basement remodel, and nobody's called me yet. And that happens. And what I'm saying is that's where you start to, all of a sudden, you lose touch with what is the next most important thing to do. So I think there is no problems with starting small as long as you're working on your technique with the understanding that you want to grow into a larger building company. I think that's where you can really nail down your systems, nail down your process. Forget about making shit tons of money. Just make sure you're making percentage points. You got to make sure that you are making at least 10% net profit. That means you should be making around about 30% gross profit margin. Your expenses really shouldn't go above 15% of your revenue. Like all these percentage points. And this is why, I'm big on financial analysis, looking at what we've done in the last month, in the last quarter, then doing projections, looking at fixed expenses and making sure that we're managing and we're growing a business safely and securely. So what's the next question, Dominator?
1 second.
I've got a comment here that I'm going to go to. Danielle just threw in, make sure you get the foundation right. Otherwise, you're forever chasing your tail. Absolutely. This is something I talk about. And it's thanks for bringing that point up, Danielle. It's very much a case of, this is what it is. If you can build the foundations of your business, understand this. Foundations take the most amount of work to build. They are the hardest to do. A lot of digging. Concreting's not fun, not very much fun. And it's normally one of the most expensive components. And understand this, that the size of your foundation determines the height of your building, folks. So 4 reasons why you should focus, just like Danielle's talking about, 4 reasons why you should focus on the foundation. Sammy's just made a comment, what's the best way? We got a question there. All right. Did I answer that one already? No, not yet. Did I answer that question?
Which question?
I don't know. The last question you just asked me. See, folks, we get shit out of shape here all the time.
Mozzie.
Okay, Mozzie's got a question. Go.
Do you require proof of funds prior to commencing your build or rely solely on contract enforcement?
Yeah, that's a good question. So here's the deal. When I was getting my builder's license, it's called proof of ability to pay. Now, I'd been doing $80,000, $100,000, $125,000 contracts, and I never did ask for it. I kind of went, well, we've got a contract now. I hope you can pay me. Essentially, that's what I was doing. Everyone else is probably out there, saying the same thing. But then I won a contract for just shy of $1.1 million. That was a game changer. I said, righto, Grace Tang, she was the investor, love you to bits, but I need from you proof of ability to pay. I need you to show me how you're going to finance the project. So A, it was for an investor, and B, it was definitely commercial. It was a 5-plex. So she'd made it clear that when I spoke to the finance broker or the bank, they made it clear that they had to contribute 25%. So let's say it was around about the $250,000, those initial payments. So when I did the cost breakdown, in the payment schedule in the contract, she was going to take care of the first $250,000. So I think there was a $50,000 down payment on signing, and then over the next 2 payments, those payments were going to come from the investor herself, and then the rest of it was going to come from the bank. Now, but then, conversely, I had to get inspectors, or I had to get, inspectors from the bank to come out to make sure that if we were at frame stage, the bank guy wanted to come out, he wanted to make sure that we were actually legitimately at frame stage. So yeah, Mozzie, that's exactly what you can do. Now, do any of my guys do that now? I doubt it. I doubt it. Most of the contracts that we sign aren't to do with, they're all cash. So, we've not really had to cover off the importance of that. But I think anything that's $500,000 and up, and maybe around the 500, you might just go and say to the clients, hey, how do you expect to pay for this? And you might want to talk to your legal counsel or your lawyer and say, hey, should I be asking of clients proof of ability to pay? And that's kind of how you nail it down. Yeah. So Douglas has given me a little bit more daps. The size of your foundation determines the height of your building. Excellent quote. Thanks, buddy. So
Sam, I am.
Okay, Sam, I am. What's happening?
What's the best way for new entrepreneurs with no construction experience getting in this industry?
Buy a franchise, Sam. I am. You know better than to ask that bloody question. Seriously. Look, I think that if you've got no construction background, you really need to find a business partner who does have really. And I've seen this work. Oh, I've got that reminder again. I've seen this work in my own, not my own life, but I know I've worked for building companies where one guy was very white collar, very, work with the clients. And then the other guy was very much a construction operative. He was a construction manager. He had a builder's license. He's a carpenter by trade. And so I think to make it work, I think everything that we talk about as far as starting building companies is appropriate to Sam's question. But if you don't have that background, you're seriously going to need the insight from another operative that's got the building experience. I wouldn't sell anybody a franchise in construction doing renovations and remodeling if they said, and ironically enough, I've spent all my life in hospitality, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Sam I am, and I want to get into construction because, other than the guy that's asked the question, he spent 10 months in my office, so he's got a bit of an inside line. But again, he's got 10 months worth of experience where he's seen me operate really with only one or two franchises. I mean, Sam was there from the beginning pretty much. So, definitely, if you haven't got the experience on the tools and in the industry or in the field, it might pay you to find someone who does, and you will complement each other really well. I was watching a Netflix, I wouldn't call it a documentary, but it was a kind of movie about Spotify, right? We all know who Spotify is. And it was amazing how it was stupid because they all got lip sync going on because it's obviously been recorded in bloody Swedish. And so, it's kind of weird. So, hard to watch a little bit, but I like the story. So, what happened was, there was a guy that wasn't the most experienced as it related to programming, but he was running the show. He'd obviously done some stuff, but he needed more expertise for him to make Spotify work. And of course, now he's a billionaire. And so, look, I think there's no reason why it can't work in construction. You just have to move from me in your thought process to we. There has to be a team. One of us can't be as smart as all of us, folks. You have to find a bit of a network where you can add value and get value. Those are that's what I would say. So, Next question.
Tama
Let's go.
From TikTok.
Welcome, Northman Contracting on Instagram. Special shout out to that gentleman.
Tama from TikTok.
Tama from
That's how you
TikTok.
pronounce it.
Okay.
You do any work around steel?
No. Our niche is definitely in renovations and remodeling in the residential sector. And really, we've just picked one avenue, and that's where we've gone. Occasionally, if we're doing a big reno, we might use, steel beams and posts and shit, whatever, to support floor, to open up areas, maybe to put in, different size windows or whatnot. But predominantly, it's all typical residential construction. You're welcome, Sam I am. Thanks for dropping in, champion. Okay.
Okay. Multi-Craft Construction Inc.
Right.
TikTok.
Okay.
Multi-Craft Construction Inc.
Hold that question. Danielle just said, I've seen those partnership works really well. Yeah, very successful. So there you go. We've got a little bit of confirmation coming from the group. Go ahead with, what's his name again?
Multi-Craft Construction.
Multi-Craft Construction's got multiple shout outs. Woo! Yeah, let's go.
Did you hit a point that you let small projects go,
Yep.
or do you still do everything?
I just had lunch with one of my guys. He says, dude, I cannot entertain anything under 25 grand, which is still small, but he's literally saying you can't be giving me $5,000 patch-up repair jobs. I'm just going to put a sword to him, and I'm like, totally understand. So, yeah, absolutely. What I would be careful to do is don't kibosh. Like if you're a bit of a big baller and you've got $500,000 projects on the go, you never know where that $25,000 bathroom could lead. They might have a neighbor, they might know somebody that can lead you to another $250,000 full main floor gut. So I'm always optimistic about that. But yeah, there is a point where if you get if you get inundated and you've got to make calls because you can't give a quote to everybody, then yeah, you've basically got to start, limiting. I know one of the first jobs that I ever won actually when I was with Smith & Sons was about 55 or 62,000. And I won that job because the guy I was competing with all of a sudden backed out and said, look, we've really got, enough jobs and they're all over 100,000. It's too small for us. But it was totally up my alley. It was probably one of my bigger jobs at the time. So it depends on where you are in your growth phase. That's what I would say. But just be mindful that those small jobs can actually lead to bigger opportunities. Always you've just got to follow your intuition on those kinds of inquiries. Thanks for the question.
Rich Senior from
Rattle.
TikTok.
Okay.
I have a truck and $30K. How do I price a rehab for investor residential flips?
Okay, so he's telling me he's got a truck and he's got 30K cash.
I would assume so.
How do I price a rehab for an investor for residential flips?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, look, I would regard an investor as not a fit for my preferred client profile. And in other words, we've set up what they call an avatar or a persona, or a type of client that I want to sell to. An investor is going to be tricky. The downside of working for an investor is they're always going to grind you. They're always going to lowball you. They're all about numbers, because for them to make money, and I've done enough real estate investment courses, if the numbers don't stack up, walk away. That's what the mantra is, right? The upside with working for an investor is they're in the business of investing. Therefore, you're going to have repeat business without any marketing. So if you look after XYZ investor, on job one, odds on is if you guys are getting on and you're making money, he's making money, there's another job there waiting for you potentially, right? So, if you've got a truck and 30K, I'm not sure what that relevance is, because if I'm working doing a residential flip for an investor, I'm basically using his money. I mean, I'm going to buy materials, but he's going to give me a 15%, down payment on contract signing, and then we're going to have obviously stage claims throughout the project, and he's going to cough up whenever I reach those. So, I don't know what the truck is. Obviously, you need a truck to go and work. If you've got 30K, I don't know what the 30K, are you going to invest in a trailer and tools? Because that's a shit ton of money. You just got to make sure you got the skills. But with the investor, make sure you've got your T's crossed and your I's dotted, because those guys have normally got some lawyers in their pocket, and you want to make sure that if you have a dispute with those guys, you've got the paperwork to back yourself up. If it's not in writing, folks, what is it? It doesn't exist. It just doesn't. So make sure everything's in writing. I think Multicraft gave me a bit of love. Multicraft Constructions on TikTok gave me a bit of love. JSB Property Inspections is on Instagram. Malice Workshop is there as well. Good to have the folks in the house. Remember, Business for Builders podcast. A new a new episode drops every Thursday afternoon at about 3 o'clock-ish. And the Business for Builders YouTube channel is up there as well. Be sure to check us out.
Links in bio.
What's that?
Links.
And the link is in the bio. So, Multicraft, just give us some love. And he's got someone tagged in there. So remember, folks, too, this is being recorded right now. Over there's another camera. And it's going to be going in a week's time or so. Maybe it'll be a bit more than a week. Yeah, because we're going to be out of the office, folks, so there's not a lot of production going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in the field, but maybe give us maybe 10 days, and we might have that one on YouTube. But this video will be, with all these answers and questions and whatnot, we'll be on YouTube, and it'll all be timestamped, so you can really thumb through all of the questions that were asked, pick out what's important to you, and go check that out. That's on YouTube. So be sure to follow us and hit the bell for new notifications on new content. There's always stuff getting uploaded there, trying to add value, help you guys build high-performance businesses. All right, next question. Let's go.
How would you tell the client that they disqualified themselves?
You don't really, I love that. There's someone just joined us in TikTok called Your Mum. The Your Mum jokes go down really well. When it comes to disqualifying clients, there's no easy way to do it. I don't think you ever tell a client, you're disqualified. It's more along the lines of, we've done an assessment, we've been out to the job, we've met with the client, we've looked at the scope, we've made the consideration, and we just don't feel like we want to go ahead and either work for that client and or do that project. And so we might, and I've had this where I've emailed a client and said, hey, that wasn't his name. Let's say his name was Tim. Hey, Tim, great to meet you the other day. Look around your project. We've considered all the data that we gathered, looked at some photos, and unfortunately, we're not in a position to provide you with a bid for your project. Wish you all the best, for your project. Best regards, Max. And so basically, I didn't ever disqualify them and say, you're disqualified, but what I am doing is I'm looking at my preferred client profile. I'm making the assessment as to what I think is important to me in my business at that moment. And then I basically will just put a sword to that deal. And that really does help out to make sure that I'm working for the clients that I want to work for, so long as you've got plenty of choice. Otherwise, you have to. We're gonna break into something that's funny.
Yeah. James said, find your niche. Lives in my head every day. I'm currently doing carpentry / contracting or concreting. Any advice? And then Mozzie said, James, build concrete tables. 10K per table.
That'll do. That'll test James's entrepreneurial flair. He's got Mozzie jumping in there and giving him a little bit of an opportunity heads up. That's cool. Max Martin's back in the house. Good to have you back, pal. Yeah. So, mate, find your niche. Is that
was your video? The find your niche video.
Gotcha.
He's saying that's in his head every day.
Right. It's cool. People are arguing with me. They're like, some people say, well, I'm in a rural setting. I have to do everything. Respect. I'm not saying that you have to, but what I am saying is that if you are going to be on the tools and you have to do everything because your labor pool is not big enough, understand you've got to keep it all in house. You've got to do it yourself, which means you've got to do a wide range. You've got to work for different types of clients. Understood. But I'm just saying that the reason I would say, find your niche is because that you need to be able to systemize your approach. You need to really have an organized process for marketing and sales and contract administration and all that sort of stuff. And if you're busy doing commercial and residential and industrial and shop fit outs and putting people's bird cages and shit together, how is somebody supposed to follow you? For you to develop systems across 5 scope of work, it's going to be a massive undertaking. Most builders can't even get an operations file just for renovations, let alone 3 or 4 different, which means they get stuck at a certain level and can never progress because they're not focusing on or being a specialist or an authority in that area. So, yeah, James, I hope that helps, champion. He's currently doing carpentry, concreting, and advice. Yeah, look, I'd say be patient, man. If you got a good head on your shoulders, then I think you've just got to keep your head down, keep working hard, keep educating yourself. And look, life is long, but it does go by fairly quick. So go and reconcile that shit together. It's all fairly polar opposite. All right.
DB Foster from Insta.
DB Foster, that's 1980. I can see that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Any tips on building a trades network to enable launching for Reno work?
Okay, I want to know what DB Foster does right now. Any tips on building a trades network to enable launching for Reno work? I don't know what enable launching means. I'm going to assume that he's a builder and trades network, unless he's an entrepreneur and he just wants to put trades together to try and. Surely he's not talking about labour hire mobs. I don't know what he's talking about exactly. Yeah, got some love there from James. Yeah, mate. Look, love to help as well. Whatever I can do, I will. Be sure, if you want to get on email, feel free to reach out, max@businessforbuilders.ca. I'll get back to that as quickly as I can. Just keep it fairly minimal and we can jam off and on during the week. But would love to help and give up any tips that I can that's going to help you build it. So getting back to DB Foster, any tips on building a trades network? I know that what we do here at Smith & Sons for our general contractors in and around, within an hour travel, is that we do all of the recruitment advertising from head office, and then we just share the leads, the resumes that come in, and we could get 3 to 5 resumes every day, and we've got 2 or 3 guys in one area, and so out of that, only one guy's looking for labor, so he gets all of the resumes. We just keep sending them to him. But yeah, definitely. But there is a blacklist that we're going to start too, because we've had a couple of run-ins where guys have come across guys. They didn't work out, and then 12 months later, they've reapplied, and we've only caught them on our customer relations management system, and we've been able to red flag that as a contact that we've previously had that didn't work out. So there's a little bit of a warning that goes out to the other operator. So Dan Foster's just asked, I want to build my own renovations business. Yeah, look, Dan. What I know is that the collaborative nature of the general contractor world. Now, I don't know where you're from, whether you're in North America, whether you're in Australia or New Zealand or somewhere else, but there's not a lot of collaboration between builders because they all seem like, well, if I give my secrets away, the secrets that probably aren't worth shit, that's going to give my other guy, my buddy over there, a competitive advantage over me. There's so much opportunity. There's so much low-hanging fruit. But if Dan wants to build his own renovation business, I think, like I said, you've got to understand first how you're going to get, inquiry. Now, I talked to a guy today as well, and he was talking about how he gets really good solid leads from referral. but he wants to grow a business. And what it takes a mixture of working a local area where you pound the pavement, press the flesh, introduce yourself to realtors that are selling properties that might need renovations or whatever the case may be, leaving little packs with them to pass on to new homeowners in that area with business cards so they can get referred back to you. That's local area, pounding the pavement marketing, and then also having the digital marketing. And that's why, at Smith & Sons, we can't do the local area marketing for them. We impress upon the importance of reaching out in their local area, talking to architects, talking to interior designers, talking to realtors who are selling properties that might need renovating. We can't do that. But what we can do is we can bring our A game to the table as far as the digital and really, really be omnipresent, which means we're everywhere on all platforms digitally to enable us to have a very balanced approach. So, if you're a builder and you've got your truck deckled and someone bails you up in the Home Depot parking lot, which I've had, my guys have many a time have that happen. And they go, well, we've seen you on Facebook. I just want to know if you can come and give me a quote. Like, that's seriously how it happens. And of course, if you haven't got decals on your vehicle, then that ain't going to ever happen to you, bro. So get some decals. What was that? Wrap the shit out of your, wrap your fucking truck. Yeah. I do an episode on, the importance of having your vehicle wrapped or deckled up. So, Dan, I hope that helps, champion.
It is episode 41. I do have it.
Episode 41, wrap your fucking truck. So, Dan, if you want to start your own renovation business, man, hang around this podcast. Hang around the Business for Builders podcast. Check out the Business for Builders YouTube. Really double down, dream big, start small. Don't despise the day said badly. Want to speed up on quoting and work and trust my trades network. I mean, before I left Australia, I had a really good network of trades. It was just really, really, but I'd been in and around that ecosystem since I was 16. So there was a lot of guys that had worked for my boss, which were now working for me. So I inherited that trade network, which was cool. And look, I think speeding up the quoting on jobs, really, obviously the first thing is you've got to have a decent software to do that. And if you want to use like Builder Trend, I think Bluebeam was mentioned. We use BuildExact. We've got over 100 franchise general contractors utilizing BuildExact. And that's the first thing you want to do. But people, say to me, well, how do I learn to quote? Well, the way I quote is I get that project and I build it in my head. And I think about, okay, what excavation, what demolition, what my site prep's going to be like, what concrete work do I need to do, what's in the concrete work, what sort of rebar do I need? I'm building it in my head. Now, combined with that, we've got I think a 10-page checklist for doing those takeoffs. And that's included in operations file for our general contractors. We also have a building sequence checklist, and we also have a quality assurance or quality control checklist, all bunched into that same section within our operations file. So, speeding up quoting, I think, I don't want to keep wasting people's time every time on quoting every time. Yeah, look, I think I do. This is the way I quote. I'll do a hybrid, right, Dan? I'll do a hybrid between, I call it getting rates and then basically me understanding how long it's going to take. That's always to me, that's the best, because if I was to put out an RFQ every time I was doing a quote on every single job, it would be just like I'd be waiting forever to get those quotes back. So what we do is we have obviously what I'd call some historical understanding or some historical data as to what I've done in the past. So I roughly know what a waterproofer costs. I roughly know what a tile setter's square foot or square meter rate is. But then there's sometimes where I'll want an actual quote, let's say from an electrician. If I've got to upgrade that from a 100 amp, 100 amp service to a 200 amp service, I've got to put a site pole in there as well. I'm going to need to know some of those costs. So I'm going to have to wait on a quote from that contractor. So, I don't know. I think quoting, depending on the size of the job, it just is going to take as long as you need to make sure you don't miss anything. What up?
Dan Booth's in TikTok Live.
Dan Booth, welcome. What a rock star, TikTok rock star. So I think, you've really got to increase your own ability and your own skills in and around your construction understanding, because profit is a natural byproduct of good estimating. So if you're a shit estimator, you're going to struggle in your proposals being accurate. And once you get to construction, life is a bitch. Like, you've seriously got to nail it down. So 2 things. To give you an idea, when I did a 5-plex, me and my buddy estimator, Jace, we worked on that estimate for, I think, from first phone call with the investor, it was 28 days, and we got an agreement in principle on the phone at 9:30 on a Wednesday night, right? We had worked our asses off, and they were keen to get started, so we had to make sure we had our ducks lined up. Ironically, probably 4 weeks later, about, a little ways into the project, maybe more, maybe 6 to 8 weeks later, my buddy estimator come to me and said, just went to order the ceramic tiles, and there's nothing in the estimate for ceramic tiles. So at that point, we kind of looked at each other and, well, we shit the bed, and we missed out on some data, and we need to try and recover that cost. So we worked hard on clawing back. So, I think out of experience, this is why I would say, if you're a new builder doing renos, start with smaller jobs, and you'll learn on the fly. Never, like, everywhere you go, me included, like the shit that I got to deal with as a CEO, I'm just like, it just blows my mind how much learning I've got to do. So everyone is in the same position, folks. I want to tell you right now, everyone's in the same position. So just be open to learning. Do I need to get back on the questions?
Yes.
Okay, we got to come thick and fast now.
A couple statements.
Okay, give me some.
Dan Booth said, "What's up, guys? How are you doing today?"
Dan is a good dude.
And then Danielle said, "I do
got
a lot of
great content.
I do a lot of networking at Bunnings." It's me, haha. Said, "Sharing too much, brother." And then Kenny, this is a funny one. Painting a young, attractive lady's house, and she's throwing low-key flirtatious compliments at me. She's gotten very close a few times and touching my hand/arm. Thinks she's trying to get a lower bill. If she's still flirty after the job is done and paid, should I poke her?
Okay,
Dude,
so here's what I would say. Mozzie's got a little bit of Mozzie's made a statement there as well. He's saying Kenny's getting an alternate payment methods, and it certainly isn't FPOS or debit or credit, depending on where you come from. But what I would say, who was throwing that shit down? Kenny. What I would say, mate, is I'm not going to promote promiscuous behavior with clients. I think that's bad for business. No chance, double payment. Kenny, what I would say is, mate, look, focus, bro. Focus. Finish the job, get paid in proper currency, and then entertain something. Maybe ask her out on a date, all right? Don't mix business with pleasure. I tell my kids this: work first, play second. Kenny, go get the job done. Yeah, that's it. James is out there going, get it done, Kenny. Attaboy. So, look, mate, yeah, that's what I would say. Work first, Kenny, focus, and then play second. Finish the job, then finish the... Hey, mate, whatever, fill your boots. That's good on you, champ. You're obviously a good-looking man, obviously. So, that's some funny shit right there. All right.
Liam from TikTok.
Yep, righto. Let's go.
Any advice for a 21-year-old, done my builder's license, wanting to smash the high residential niche?
Righto, Liam. You sound like a very impatient individual, Liam. Look, I love the fact that you've gone out and got that builder's license, but what I will tell you right now from an old boy is that getting a builder's license is the easiest thing you could do. Your most challenging thing you're ever going to do is build a profitable business. Like, fact. So really, mate, I really want you to be a good student, because at your age, 2 things are going to happen. You're in a position where you can learn, and by the time you're 30, you're a freaking ninja. Alternatively, you'll go out, and by the time you're 25, you'll be broke because someone would have screwed you over because you haven't got the life experience to know what is a bullshit artist client and what's a really good client. And then you'll spend the next 5 to 7 years getting over bankruptcy, and then at 32, you'll go around again and you'll be a hell of a lot smarter. So, mate, just try and be really understanding that, it's not all it's cracked up to be. At the beginning of the show there, we had Hasbullah was talking about, he was on a $52 million project, and the last payment of 150 grand was being debated by quantity of surveyors, and they said it was only worth 85, of which he was going to take a $25,000 loss because it really owed him 105 grand. And I'm telling you, like, you can get blindsided really quickly. Matter of fact, one of my operators had a client pass away mid-construction, dude. Now, it was fortunate that the kids were actually involved in that construction process. And And so, you really had to, be thinking on your feet, because that can complicate. You've got a contract with the client, and if one of them passes away, that can really complicate things. So, mate, I would just be very, very patient. Again, I say this all the time. Dream big. Start small, systemize the shit out of everything, get education around financial management and financial analysis, and really double down on your understanding of business development, particularly around the areas of expansion and consolidation. Know when it's the time to expand and know when the time is to consolidate. And really, expansion really comes down to cash at bank. You got to make sure that you can afford to go and try and expand and fail and not go underwater because of lack of finance. So be patient, champ.
Danielle said, we had a client pass away. Shit got messy quickly.
Danielle's a freaking ninja. She should be doing a bloody podcast. Yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate the comment, Danielle. That's good insight. It happened. I'm telling you, the world's a big place and shit happens for sure.
Multi-craft construction.
Multi-craft is back. Yep.
Do you sell systems apart from the franchise?
Yeah, look, you know what, dude? At least once a day now. I put this freaking I put the podcast and I'm doing Q&A just to help out, just to try and create a bit of an audience where we might be able to help each other or whatever. But the more I do this, I get that question at least once a week, if not twice a week. And, just trying to really understand what I can do in the way of adding value further to what I'm doing here just by flapping my gums and chatting with you folks, it's an excellent thing to do on a Friday afternoon. I can drink beer and talk to some folks all around the world. It's pretty cool. It's great meeting Kenny. He's a ninja. He'll have a great story to tell us. Maybe he's about to start a family. Who knows? But, it's just, it's really tough because, I've got, obviously the franchise has got proprietary information. There's a reason you buy into it. What you can never buy is obviously the brand, which is a 14-year-old brand. It's a multinational brand. It's in 3 countries right now. We're set up to go to the States. It's that part of it. I definitely can't, I can't sell that part to you, but definitely the proprietary stuff. There's nothing really new under the sun. It's just a very organized, intense approach that, I could give you the 700-page, operations file, and you've got to, it's the implementation of the information that makes the difference. And you cannot do that. Like I had one guy on TikTok when I put out a quick video on, here's our operations file. He's like, how's it possible that one guy can learn 700 pages? Well, you freaking can't. But it's an introduction and it's something that you can work up to. And I also tell my guys in training, this is a 3 to 5 year business development program. So, I think it's all about, our 5 pillars that we talk about is first one's mindset. The second one is management. The third one is marketing. The fourth one is mastery. And what's the fifth one? And then there's mentoring, right? So there's those 5 M's that we really we want to impress upon our operators, because it's not just a case of, Max, give me the checklist and I'll be off to the races. It doesn't work that way. There's a developmental process, because I'm telling you that if I can be accused of anything, I'll tell you what I can be accused of is helping guys build business too fast, and they outrun their supply line, and they're not equipped, and they don't have the capability personally to deal with the stress or the level of business that they find themselves in. And a lot of the time, once you get on that rabbit, or once you get on that wheel, that hamster wheel, it's really tough to get off. And it's, I really would just say to you, I tell you to be patient, not because I want to be a dick, but I'm telling you, I think you can grow a business faster than what you can grow personally and your capacity. In other words, your ability to learn, your ability to be responsible, or, responsibility, your ability to respond to certain situations. That's what I would do. So does that help?
Yeah.
Do we answer that? Let's go.
Taken names. I was just going to skip the taken names.
So that's what we're going to do. But back to that question real quick, I am trying to rack my brains and figure out how I can develop some sort of coaching and mentoring program that can help those that have got no interest in purchasing a franchise. Because I'm telling you, there might be, down the track, you might not want to do that now, but certainly down the track, it might be an option. So I'm thinking about it.
Love all your catchphrases. Can you rattle them all off at once?
I stole all of them, and I get told a little bit, and that's not something I got to be It's got to be. It's always because I rattle them off because there's a reason I rattle them off. Are we talking about, what are we talking about?
The more you learn, the more
you learn, the more you earn. Your attitude turns to altitude. It's like higher the levels, bigger the devils. Sometimes it's like pushing shit uphill with a sharp stick.
And then always in the shit, it's only the depth
Always
that
in the
varies.
shit, it's only the depth that varies. I think that's a CEO mantra.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
okay.
Braden?
We actually should do a reel. If you've got those, we need to do a reel.
I can. Yeah, I'll make a note.
Do a
Braden from TikTok.
Hey, Braden. Good to see you, champion.
What do you say to a client that wants the cheapest price in order to win the job?
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Thanks for meeting with me the other day. We've considered all the information that we gathered, looked at the photos, but unfortunately, we're unable to produce a bid for your project. All the best, Max the Builder. Dunk. I just can't deal with it, dude. Like, this is what gets this. Now, we go back to, we had a cost plus question. The problem with cost plus is the client sits there and goes, I'm going to get builder 1, builder 2, builder 3, and all he's going to do is find out, right, they're all going to supply the materials. Who's got the cheapest percentage? Well, builder 1's going to do it 12%, builder 2's going to do it 15%, builder 3's going to do it 18%. Well, I'm going to pick builder 1 because he's the cheapest management fee. But he might be the slowest, he might be paying the most for the material. When you've got clients that are price oriented, forget about it. Run for the hills. In the nicest possible way, tell them that you're not their guy. And quite honestly, they do not fit my preferred client profile. If a client says, yeah, I want to supply the vanity in the toilet and the bathtub because I'm really trying to do this on a budget. Like, I'm just going to run to the hills. What is that? We got another one? Episode 17, I talk about the tail. There's another one. Yeah. Tail doesn't wag the dog, right? We can't have the clients really dictating terms. I'm the builder. They will buy in accordance with my selling process. I am not going to sell in accordance with their buying process. Okay? Mozzie's got a statement there. Reduce the price, reduce the scope. It's the only way. If you want to reduce price, then we'll build it up to drywall or gyprock stage and you can finish it or whatever. That's how. If you're going to run out of money, that's not my fault, Mr. and Mrs. Client. If you run out of money, how is it that I've got to subsidize the cost of building your place? Forget about it. Like, I don't walk into a hamburger joint and go, look, mate, I know I've just ordered a full pizza, but I've only got enough money for half. Can you chip in for the rest? It's like, it's your pizza, dude. I ain't going to buy half your pizza. Anyway, sorry.
Dan Booth has a question.
Righto, Dan Booth. Let's get cracking. We're going to get Dan on the podcast one of these days. Let's go. He does some great content, by the way. It's awesome. Let's go.
As far as marketing and advertising,
okay,
where do you put the majority of your focus?
Okay, so marketing advertising is two-stage. I want you to understand that there's always two parts. There's branding and brand awareness, and then there's right hook. So when we roll out Facebook, let's say, right? And let's say we're about to open up in a place called Port Coquitlam in the Lower Mainland, in and around Vancouver. What we're going to have to do there with Facebook is to do a branding and traffic campaign, which is about 3 to 4 weeks, or 2 to 3.
It's at least 2 for each stage.
At least 2 for branding, 2 for traffic, and we're developing the Facebook process in and around that location. And then after about maybe 4 weeks, we can actually go into some right hook stuff, into some lead gen. So it's like there's one vertical, but it has 3 stages. So you'd need to go and investigate that. And then, of course, you go across to Google AdWords. Now, it's all about farming. So in that stage of branding and traffic, that's all about getting people's interest, building, an audience, finding out which people are interested so that we can then remarket against the people that are most interested in our content. And we have to invest, I don't know, $40 to $60 a day, or is it more than that? Quick question. Let's go, Jill. Come on. 40 to 100. There you go. I know when we're doing recruitment campaigns for, franchising, sometimes it can go as $100 a day. Super important. Yeah, mate. I've got the audio book for real. A matter of fact, Dan Booth just said you've read Gary V. And mate, I built this whole business, Dan Booth, on the back of Gary Vaynerchuk's hyperbole. I caught him in the winter of 2015, right about the time we signed the shareholder agreement between me and my business partners, and everything that he then said on YouTube and not so much Snapchat, but definitely, on Instagram and stuff. I was just following double down. So, mate, if you know who Gary V is, then you got to go back to around the 2016, but jab, right hook, certainly. I've just finished listening to is it 11 and a half or 12 and a half? 12 and a half, I think, is his most recent book. So it's all about it. Dude, I didn't invent this shit. What I've done is I was the student, and then I went and built a $4 million company as a franchisor with multiple franchisees now, and it's worked. And matter of fact, Dan, I had Joe Quattrone, interviewed him on our Business for Builders podcast, and he's been working with Gary V for 9 years now, and he had a great story to tell, and that was a really good time to just jam. I actually tried to get Gary V on my 100th episode, and I got rejected, but Joe Quattrone said, well, who else do you want? I'm like, dude, I'll have you. You're next. Let's go. So we did that. So check out the 100th episode on Business for Builders podcast. And I think that's on YouTube as well, 100th episode. So, but then of course you flip across. So Facebook is good because it really helps us understand what our audience is saying. What's that?
Dan Booth said, I would still love to get together for a podcast.
Okay. All right. Note that, team. Dan Booth's ready to go. I'll check out the 100th episode. Absolutely, mate. Do it. So I think it's important that you understand that Facebook is really good for farming, although we do get a lot of leads per day from Facebook. Don't get me wrong. But on the flip side, we've got, and there's a lot of farming goes over there, but then there is some right hook stuff that goes on as well. And then we come across to Google AdWords, which is all about looking for that, where they're buy ready, where the clients are ready to buy, right? So there's farming, and then there's obviously just doubling down on day rates. What are your keywords? What do you call it? What do we call it? The positive AdWords, negative keywords? Is it? Yeah. So, all these campaigns are built, and we've got Google Ad campaigns for Victoria, Nanaimo, West Kelowna, Vernon, and Edmonton, So, yeah, it's definitely very scientific, but I've got a lot of obligation. I've got to make sure these general contractors that we bring into Smith & Sons have got really good top of funnel where they can choose who they want to work for and who they want to talk to. So, like I said, one of my guys right down the road here, $950,000 worth of inquiry, and it's only the 21st of the month. So that fella should sign some contracts. If we're looking at a 25 or 20% conversion rate, there's a couple of $100,000 worth of work just in 20 days worth of inquiry. Maybe that'll be in 60 days. We'll just see what happens. All right, next question.
We are out of questions, but there's some statements.
Okay, let's hit me up with
So if anyone has any questions.
Now, guys, we're gonna if we don't get any more questions, we'll shut down the show. So if you've got something on your mind, hit me up. Be sure to check us out on the Business for Builders podcast, the Business for Builders YouTube channel. Links in the bio, both in Instagram, I think, and and my email, I think, is on TikTok, yeah?
Yes,
So max@businessforbuilders.ca. Hit me up. I'd love to get to know you and get back to you as promptly as I can. So let's go. What's the statement?
Danielle said, clients forget we're allowed to say no. We don't have to take the work. And then Paint 100 said, true. They also forget that some of us know our value and get pressed when we won't and get pressed when we won't budge dollars.
Yep. And this is not the client's fault, guys and girls. When we don't say no, that's on us. That's on the builder. It's just we're afraid to say no because maybe we don't have enough clients to choose from. And therefore we feel obligated. And that's a problem because then you end up working for clients you don't want to work for, and perhaps you lose money from doing those jobs, those sorts of things. So this is where it comes back to your marketing message and your marketing process to make sure, like if any of you guys or girls, and maybe $950,000 worth of inquiry is not a big deal to you. Maybe you get that all day long. I don't know. But if you're sitting there as a general contractor going, I need some work to quote on, well, mate, like I can give you top of funnel. That's why joining forces with Smith & Sons is a powerful concept. It's not just about construction in this day and age. It's about being a weapon when it comes to technology. Did Dan just leave another comment?
Yep.
We've been trying to grow our residential construction company. I think if I shifted my position from lead carpenter to project manager, it would help us. However, it would be a large shift. Yeah, look, biz dev is super, super, super challenging. So to Dan's point, to step off the tools, you're like, okay, where do I go? What do I do? Now, in some cases, I would subscribe to someone who's very construction oriented to actually maybe stay on the tools or stay as a project manager close to site, but also do sales. But have what we call an office nanny. You know, someone that does the management, someone that does a lot of the paperwork, someone that does the client liaison, but doubles up and also does some bookkeeping as well. From lead carpenter to project manager, it would help us. However, it would. That was his last comment.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think what it comes down to, whatever you do, my advice is to make sure, let's say you were going to bring on project manager, you know, or let's say a lead carpenter, site foreman, right? So he can swing a hammer, he's on the tools, but he can also keep 2 jobs organized and can place orders. You know, he understands your system as far as purchase orders and job numbers and things like that. You just got to make sure that you've got, and you do a forecast. You go, okay, if I bring on a lead carpenter who's a site foreman, office nanny, aka Danielle, that's what I'm talking about. You nailed it. But some guys don't have a wife, so I've got to sort of roll a different way. But you know, like you've got to make sure that you've got, let's say, 3 to 4 months worth of that forecast business expense. So in other words, if you're by yourself, you might only, and you're trading at home and you've got very little overheads, it might be 10 or 12 grand a month. Now you go and put a general carpenter. Even though he's a cost of goods sold, he's still going to cost the business. So then you've got to make sure that you've got enough bank to experiment, because unless you're lucky, and I'll say that, unless you're lucky, you're not going to get a good guy first time round, right? It's pretty challenging to be able to sort of go and get into the recruitment sector and get the right lead carpenter foreman who actually fits your culture, your company culture. And who actually works out really well and has a good attitude. And we're talking about synergy. We're talking about chemistry between you, the building company owner. And so making that launch. So you know that you're going to have to experiment. You know you're not going to get it right. Now, if you do, kudos to you. Wonderful. But if you don't, you're going to spend 30 to 60 days working with the wrong guy, and it's just cost you money, and you've lost production because you yourself has got to come away from what you do a lot of the time and teach said new person. That means you've compromised your position to produce. And this is why you can't just start out at, you know, minimum, like money in the bank, $1,000 in the bank, and then go and bring somebody on, because you haven't got the bank to be able to support the expansion. You've been trying different things. However, I think having me float from on-site to office, I think, you know, you've got to do what you've got to do. I often say run a man short. That's what I would say. Part of my business expansion at the beginning, when you're just trying to figure out yourself, is absolutely run a man short, because if you can make it work, you've just saved a full-blown, you know, income for the next guy. You've actually put that in the bank. This is where we're at. Need to get hubby off the tools, working on getting the right staff. I'm telling you, 2 things you're going to need to develop a business. One is you're going to need to be a great talent scout. In other words, you're going to have to learn to hire quickly and fire quickly with kind candor. Don't be an asshole. If it doesn't fit for your business, let him know why and just say nothing personal. It's all business. And then the second thing is you've got to make sure that you're able to develop or to design a company culture that's productive and that is, you know, it develops profit. You've got to have that. There's, you know, this is the challenge you get. You can get a high producer in your company who doesn't play well with the other kids. He or she's got to go, because I'm telling you, the culture and the ambience that's around the business has got to be productive. It has to be profitable. It has to flow. It has to be very synergistic. It has to be it's not going to be a happy place all the time. But we've got no time for toxic personalities. I have got no room for egos. Drives me freaking crazy, because it just doesn't work long term. You know, these pricks that have big egos because they think their shit doesn't stink and they're friggin' that good that everyone's got to bow down to them. Those guys can kiss my ass. You're out, down the road. Go work for somebody else. That's a little bit of a rant on a Friday afternoon. Cheers, I'm out of beer too. That's all right.
The last question.
Yeah, that'll make for a good snippet. There you go, Dan Booth. That's how you get a few. What does he say? I totally agree. You got to cut ties quick. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I would rather work my face off an extra 10 hours a day than have some dickhead wrecking my culture in my company. It's just the way I roll. Okay.
Yeah. Frank from TikTok.
G'day, Frank from TikTok. Thanks for your question.
I'm 21 years old. I got my van and own own tools. How can I get from working at Home Depot to the big market?
Okay, so that mean he's working at Home Depot right now, but he's got all his tools in his van together, yeah? He's ready to go on his own?
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying, yeah.
Right. So what I would say is start getting weekend work. Work Saturdays and Sundays. Dan Booth talked about a guy named Gary Vee. He uses side hustle all the time. If I work 50 hours a week at Home Depot, and obviously getting a special deal on tools, good work, Frank, I would be talking to my friends and my family and my relatives and going, who needs a fence built? You know, I think in this day and age, you've got to have an Instagram profile and a website if possible, but certainly Instagram is an easy one to run to, Facebook as well. And you've got to get some of those pictures up and running. You've got to get those on your Facebook page as a minimum so people can see who you are, because people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. You're a general contractor. You might look good, smell good, and, you might appear good, but people still don't trust you. The barrier to entry, their wall of distrust is a mile high, and it takes time for them to get to know you, so then they slowly trust you over time, right? So there's some serious challenges. So what you've got to do, you've got to develop a construction profile. And so what it means is you've got to go out and do, like, I know when I first come to town here, I was 25 years in the building industry. Like, I was a journeyman. Like, I'd run some shit. And I was in here working for a realtor installing dishwashers for $20 an hour. Yep. And you know why I didn't give a shit? Because I knew in time, I knew what I could do. And so for you, Frank, working at Home Depot 40, 50 hours a week, wants to get into your niche and get into construction, dream big, start small, systemize everything you do, focus on business development protocols and practices, educate yourself around that, and always focus on the financial aspect of your business. It will not just work out by itself. It needs to be done by design, because the default version is shitty, and most guys that don't focus on finances go broke in less than 5 years. Please focus on finances, Frank, if you go out there and take it on yourself, champ. But look, stay close, and is that Llama Bull? That's not Liam. That's Llama Bull. And get your liquidity up. Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. Like, losing money's not a problem if you've got a shit ton to lose. Like, you can afford to invest some and lose some. It's when you've got none and you lose some and you can't afford to lose anything. I can't keep up with those comments, dude. They're just bashing on.
Sharers got them.
Okay, we got them all? Okay. Hopefully that helps you, Frank. But just, keep your head down, mate, and just keep improving all the time. Learn. The more you learn, the better you get, the more money you make. That's how it comes. And your reputation will start to get around in your little ecosystem, and all of a sudden you'll find that you're probably going to have too much work. And when you do have too much work, my friend, start thinking about bumping up your rates by 10%, because then you'll be like, okay, now I'm sought after, and now I'm actually making more money. So more profit, less jobs, or spread those jobs over. Learn how to say no, or learn how to say waiting list. Okay, I've got guys right now easily booking into late spring, early summer. It's great. People love it when you've got to create when you don't have to create scarcity, you're just booking jobs up. People are like, okay, he's obviously a good dude. I'm going to hang around and wait for that guy. So, what's the next one, Dom?
Oscar from TikTok.
Dude, this is 90 minutes. Okay, go, Oscar. What do we got? What's the question?
One sec, sure. I'm 23. I own a successful fence company. I'm about to become a general contractor. Any advice?
Okay. Running a general contracting company is nothing like running a fencing company. Although there's some similarities, but the dynamics are different. You know, when you're doing fences, and I've done a few fences in my time, you're outside, you might need, your concrete mixer if you're hand mixing holes, or you're backing trucks in with concrete or whatever. You're all sort of in your little domain. Renovations is different, Let's say you go to a home that wants a basement remodel. You're kind of working downstairs and they're doing life upstairs. So there's a little bit of a different space. And maybe you've done some renos. Maybe you've got some experience there. But what I would say is that you really got to think about both your marketing message, your marketing process. Think about your sales process. You really should document your sales process. What's happened? Are you going to go and do all the work to get the quote for the client? Are you doing fixed price, or are you doing cost plus? If you're doing fixed price, what sort of preliminary building agreement are you doing? Are you going to go and do all that quoting work for free because you're such a nice guy? Now, in the beginning, you might do that to win a couple of jobs, but I'm telling you that is not sustainable. You cannot work for free. I'm sure you're a nice person, but you've got to feed you and your family somehow. So you've got to understand that your knowledge and experience is worth something, so you can sell your quoting services, but you've got to package it a very special way. You've got to demonstrate value. If you haven't already, which you probably don't, The biggest thing for us is that we've got a lot of customers, past customers that have shared their experience on video. That's on our website. I only spoke with one client yesterday that he loved. He's talking about doing a $350,000 addition, and he was loving the website. He thinks everything's explained well. A lot of the videos and things like that are put out there, so that really helps. So that would be my advice. Going from a fencing company, some business. I think what it does is, Oscar, it becomes more complicated. Fencing company, very, very few materials. There might be half a dozen to 8 different material types. Whereas in construction, doing renovations, dude, there could be 5,000, pieces. There's multiple trades that have got to come together, and you've got to coordinate them. And if you don't, and you've got delays on projects, it costs you money. Like if you get it right, it's good. But if you get it bad, it's terrible. So, righto. Hope that helps, Oscar. I've got the shutter down. I've got one on Instagram. I don't know. Have you got any more questions at the back of your thing there or not? Okay, I've got one here from. I can't say. I cannot pronounce it. Man Harupa Prai. Dude, sorry I've cocked your name up completely. And his question is, where do you think more money is? General contracting or residential framing and forming? We're going to shut this down pretty soon. We'll just see what else comes through, right? Are they still
done? We're done taking questions.
We're done. We're not going to answer them anymore. But isn't there questions up on the screen?
There's statements on the screen.
Okay, well we'll run through the statements. But I want to answer man's question. Look, I think that I think there's more money in general contracting because I run a residential framing, not forming, because in Australia we didn't do slabs, we didn't do concrete, we're just going frame to frame to frame. I had a 15-man crew. I would not go back to residential framing. However, framing and forming, you can make good money. I know guys in this town that do really well. I just didn't. When you're doing framing and forming, and here's the kicker, right? I got tired of working for superintendents and big building companies. I wanted to do my own thing. That was my motivation to get a builder's license and go residential. When you're talking about is there more money in it, I think there's more money in general contracting, and but you've got to have a very systemized approach. But it's really, because of that, you might be safer to stay framing and forming. Just know that framing and forming is a young man's game. If you're young and fit, you've probably got 25 years ahead of you, as long as you don't do your back in or your knees or whatever. I know guys here, 55 years of age, that still do spec homes and they do their own forming and framing and they friggin' love it. They're not interested in going into business and dealing with bloody homeowners and customers. So a very individual thing, but that's my 2 cents worth. I got another one here from Paint 100 Inc. Thanks for joining us, champions. I have an unusual advertisement tactic where I list beat up items such as recliner chair with all the leather peeling off, giving toxic Karens the opportunity to go off and throw all sorts of insults, to which I respond with quirky humour, gaining a lot of like-minded people's respect. So next time you decide to hire a painter, make sure it's a skilled professional. Yeah, I've got to be honest, having a bit of a humorous approach to marketing is definitely, one of our most recent advertisements for recruiting is a little animated picture, and we're getting some good interaction. We get some hate and shit too, but that's to be expected. And then of course Paint 100, he then plugs his own business after it goes viral, stating, as you can see from this listing, appearance does matter. My ex thought this was a pathetic and unprofessional way to promote myself and my character, but I left it was organic. Now, so what I would say to Paint Inc. on Instagram, I would say that, what from a Gary V-ism is you've got to give it a crack. You've got to A/B test it. You've got to try it. I can't say no for the other guy or girl. So putting it out there with some humor, I think we've tried that both retail and recruitment. We've tried that both for Smith & Sons. Has the retail been as...
I tested it against,
Yep.
So it was 3 testing together. The meme's performing the best.
So the meme performs the best. Booyah. So...
I haven't got a lead from it yet, but it's still the most eyes, most clicks.
He's talking about interaction, engagement. Like it's just notoriety. It's branding. Like it's cool. Dan Booth's out of the house. He's going to jet. No worries, mate. He's looking forward to chatting in the near future. Peace, Dan Booth. Appreciate it, mate. Heads up to Jacob Posma from Ontario. He's in the house as well. So that was a good comment by Paint 100. That confirms what we're finding as well. We finding the humorous approach actually goes a little longer than just sort of, some special right hooky. Although we ABC tested it. and the meme is outperforming the other two versions. So I think humor, people need a bit of a laugh. So, yeah, right, man, I can't get your name right. Manharuprai. That's got to be close. And, yeah, you're welcome, champion. He's 24, kicking ass. Okay.
Oscar?
Yeah, let's go, Oscar. Let's go for some statements. What you got?
No, these are questions. Let's bang through these. Mozzie just said cheers.
Cheers,
legend.
Mozzie. Take it easy, mate. See you next week.
Should I just focus extremely on one thing and master it, or do everything in general?
This is Oscar.
Yep.
And he's a bit young. I would sort of say at your age, Oscar, you could afford to just try a few things, but eventually what I want you focusing on is that niche, definitely. But, you got to figure out, do you want to do renos? Do you want to do new homes? Do you want to be a landscaping business owner? Like, whatever. Like, just going. Fortunately for me, I got to try the whole realm because I worked for a builder and he got me everything from forming up slabs to swimming pools to landscaping to pergolas and fences. And obviously the carpentry stuff and then drywall and bricklaying. It was like, I just did anything he told me to do and it was really good. Hated it at the time, but really, really helped me out. What else we got?
Danielle.
Right, Danielle, what you got?
Do you get an external company to write your policies or write them yourself?
Now, when you say policies, Danielle, I'm going to assume contract. Geez, I wish if she had said contract. Yeah. I wonder if she can bounce back in with a quick comment. Contract. Let's say she's talking about contracts. I got my what I did is because we got 8 general contractors, I got my legal counsel.
Contracts.
Hey?
Contracts.
She just wrote contacts. I think that was a typo.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say contracts. Yeah, I got my legal counsel, but what I did is I used my experience and things that I knew about. So there's a lot of clauses in the contract which I wanted added. I wanted change order policy put in. I wanted a force majeure, which really come about in March 2020. I don't have to tell you why. Which really talked about pandemics, epidemics, government-induced, price rises and things like that. So other clauses like for clients to give me the authority to take photos and use them on social. There was a lot of things that I introduced, and I work with my lawyer, and then we basically rolled that out to the whole group. So that's part of the business in a box. Typo contracts. Yep. So so I definitely got a lawyer's input because if shit hits the fan, I'm going to go to my lawyer. So it's kind of good if he's in the loop. And then anything that's specially related to your scope of work, you need to make sure that that's included in there. And I've got that, for our franchise agreement, but I've also got it for our building contract. It's in there as well. So, I've got that specially drawn up because we could have used a Canadian Home Builders Association, but I think Danielle's Aussie. So let's say she is an Aussie. So there's master builders, there's HIA. They've all got contracts, but they're very generic. I would want to mix that up and take that to my lawyer and say, I need, this building related stuff, but I also need to include it with, a typical building contract. So it gives us the best. She's an Aussie. Righto. Appreciate you being in the house and hanging around. It's quite the show today. We're at an hour and 40 minutes. So
our camera's about to die.
The camera's about to die. We're about to get a flat battery. How about that? Was there another comment there?
Yeah, Tamal.
Okay, Tamal.
Hi, guys. What do you say to a nervous owner when schedule has a bump in the road and delay?
Yeah, and I got absolutely destroyed on a video, and it's one of the videos on TikTok that we what do we call it? Clipped? No, what do you call it? Pinned. And I just, as a builder, I've got no time for people's feelings. Now I do. I'm empathetic, but I haven't got time to bullshit them. I've got to say to them, look, my supplier has totally cocked this show up. It's completely out of my control. I'm going to quarterback a solution, and I'm going to do my darndest. But here's a change order because I have to extend the contract time, and they've told me it's going to be 4 weeks, so I have no option other than to extend the contract time. I wish it didn't come to this, but it's outside my control. That's how I've got to deal with it. So, look, it's just I've got no time to tiptoe around the facts. If it's a fact, now, if I can go to my supplier and I can say to them, and make sure we include this in the video this time, if I can go to my supplier and say, look, pal, your delay on project or on product is not my problem. I want an upgrade. What else have you got in stock? What can we do? And then I say, well, Max, look, if you pay another $100, we can actually introduce you to an upgrade, but we have to charge you $100 to do it. As a builder, I'd go, absolutely. Here's $100. Get me that dishwasher. That's what we want to do. So, super important that we get that done. Is that it? We're done for statements. All right, guys and gals. We're just about got a flat battery over here. We've been at it for an hour and 40. I really look forward to doing it again next week. Although, because we're out of town, we may not be here next week. We're going to see if we can't get something going. Keep it factual. Hubby says he's got no time for feelings. I agree. Look, we can all have feelings at the end of the job when the frigging thing is done and we're all happy. But right now, it's business, and I got to get to the bottom of it. I got to figure out how I'm going to resolve this issue. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to hurt nobody's feelings. So we're about to wrap up. Yeah, thanks, Jacob. We will keep it real, mate. Man, Haroprai has another question, just in case you don't leave. How much bank one should have before getting self-employed?
Just wrap it up so we can end this.
So I can, okay, so hang on, let me answer that question. So you want me to go back, go forward, answer this question?
Just wrap this because it's about to die.
What do I do? What do I normally do when I wrap this up?
Just say we're done.
Righto. Everyone on YouTube, they're watching this video. Hope it's helped you out. We've got a flat battery. We've been at it for a long time. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe, hit the bell, all that sort of wonderful stuff. If you know someone who needs the info, pass it on, and go build a kick-ass business. We'll see you next time. Cheers.